We definitely should not be worried about inflation. That is a bogeyman that's being used by conservatives and corporations who don't want the government to spend money, who are worried about their taxes possibly going up. Don't worry about inflation.
Many months later.
Inflation. Everybody's talking about it, but ignoring one of its biggest causes, corporate concentration. Now, prices are undeniably rising. In response, the Fed is about to slow the economy, even though we're still at least 4 million jobs short of where we were before the pandemic. And millions of American workers won't get the raises they deserve. Republicans haven't wasted any time hammering Biden and Democratic lawmakers about inflation.
Skyrocketing inflation.
Inflation.
But don't fall for their fear-mongering. Everybody's ignoring the deeper structural reason for price increases, the concentration of the American economy into the hands of a very few corporate giants with the power to raise prices. If the market were actually competitive, corporations would keep their prices as low as possible as they competed for customers. Even if some of their costs increased, they would do everything they could to avoid passing those costs on to consumers in the form of higher prices, for fear of losing business to competitors. But that's the opposite of what we're seeing. Corporations are raising prices even as they rake in record profits. Corporate profit margins hit record highs last year. You see, these corporations have so much market power, they can raise prices with impunity. So the underlying problem isn't inflation per se, it's lack of competition. Corporations are using the excuse of inflation to raise prices and make fatter profits. Take the energy sector. Only a few entities have access to the land and pipelines that control the oil and gas powering most of the world. They took a hit during the pandemic as most people stayed home. But they are more than making up for it now, limiting supply and ratcheting up prices.
Chevron, Exxon have doubled their profits. This isn't about inflation.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my gosh, stop fucking lying.
It's very easy for companies to go abroad to extend their capacity to outsource, and that's what they've been doing. So there are almost no inflationary threats, and labor unions are very small as a proportion of the workforce these days, so you don't even have wage price inflation pressures growing. You have a lot of things to worry about, but inflation is not among them.
Come on, man.
So don't fall for Republicans' fear-mongering about inflation. The real culprit here is corporate power.
Gaslighting is a form of mental abuse in which false information is presented with the intent of making a victim doubt his or her own memory, perception, and sanity, unquote. Now, it's a great term. It comes from moving...
Freedom! I'm very freedom.